Hi there, Hawk Robinson once again, continuing this little series about the original Dungeons & Dragons White Book reprints in the box set. And thanks for everybody's feedback and encouraging me to keep giving you more information about it. So, some latest is that my youngest son and I, Drake, decided to try making a couple of characters based on the rules. And it's definitely a very simple process. Again, it's D&D in its primordial formation. The first book only has the three classes of fighter, magic user, cleric. But as you start to get into the other books, they start adding some. The other thing is, those of you asking about whether you need chainmail, though they keep saying you need chainmail, it keeps including an alternative combat system, which I briefly mentioned before, that initially only has 2 charts. But you'll see right away these are the parents to the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons charts that eventually came out. So you see here's men attacking with the armor class and level and what you need to roll to hit. And then you have, and then modifiers for advancement of levels for magic users and clerics as opposed to fighting men. And then you have the attack table for the monsters attacking. And that's it so far. And then, of course, the saving throw for each of the 3. So, pretty basic, straightforward. It took us, I think, about 15 minutes to whip up a character from the first rule book with equipment, language, saving throws, all ready to go. Probably 15 minutes, maybe even less. And of course, this is our first time doing it with these old rules, so it'll be even faster once we do it a few more times. So, certainly one thing to consider there, because AD&D and others would take a little longer. Of course, there's generation software and all of that, but just looking at it that way. And second book, lots and lots of monsters and information on it. Oh, another interesting tidbit. The first book doesn't define, when it says how many hit dice you get per level, it doesn't really tell you what size die. It does say in the equipment, in the what you should have for this, to have 4-sided, 8-sided, 20-sided, 12-sided, etc. But then it says for the hit dice, for each level, whether you're a fighter, a magic user, or a cleric, it just says the number of die and then a bonus, but without telling you what die, at least not that we could find anywhere, which die to use. So, as you see, for hit points, etc. But what was noticed as I went through the books, they started to then add features that they added to the classes with different die amounts. And they were saying a little less, like D4 for magic users and D8 for fighters. So extrapolating from that, it sounds like they were just using D6s as the default, which would make sense with their wargaming background. You'll notice this is Book 3, Underworld and Wilderness Adventures. And someone was mentioning about requiring something about the wilderness. And actually, in one of these books, I think it's further along, they do actually say you need such and such wilderness. Let's see, outdoor survival there. Offhand adventures in the wilderness are made on the outdoor survival playing board. Explained below. Outdoor survival has a playing board perfect for general adventures. Catch basins are castles, buildings are towns, and the balance of the terrain is as indicated. I'm wondering if this is what you were referring to, as saying that that's kind of required. Again, not something we have available in this day and age. So then we get into the Greyhawk book, and the interesting thing is between the Greyhawk and the Blackmoor books is the Blackmoor has some set adventures with maps all ready to go, and the Greyhawk one, while it has adventure ideas and suggestions, it doesn't have, it has lots and lots of information, but no maps for any of the adventures. While the Blackmoor one has some that were clearly like, see, we have lots of maps. This is the classic adventure, The High Priest of the Temple of the Frog. Those of you who know, AD&D, they printed the Temple of the Frog adventures, etc. And it goes into a lot of detail, but the nice thing is it actually includes maps of the area to use for the adventure, which is lacking in the Greyhawk version. So that was something that was a little interesting to note. And I believe it is, let's see, we have monks and assassins added in, and as well as enhancements to the clerics and such. Thieves, I think, were added in Greyhawk. Let's see if that's where that was added. Okay, characters, thieves. So thieves are introduced in Greyhawk. Before we had fighters, magic users, clerics, and now we have thieves in Book 4. In Book 5 is where they add the monk and assassins as a subclass of thieves. That's Book 5, Blackmoor. And Book 6, I don't believe has any more character classes. Well, maybe the druid. I take that back. Magic users, cleric, druids. So this is, okay, they're mentioned in Greyhawk. It says, I must have missed that. My apologies. It's late at night, but I thought I'd hurry and throw this out here for you guys, since people were asking more about the content. If there's druids in here, oh, druids under neutrality, but it doesn't look like they offered it as a class. Maybe I missed it. I'm sorry, I should have organized the notes more, but oh well. At least there's some more info there. And then also what's included in Eldritch Wizardry Book 6 is the rules for psionics, and they are extensive. Okay, lots for druids. Psionics, attack, defense. It's pages and pages of the psionic rules, which were in the back of the player's handbook for a few pages. So you can really see as these books progress what would eventually become AD&D First Edition. And then this is the final book, Book 7, Gods, Demigods, and Heroes, which would become the Deities and Demigods. But, of course, it doesn't have any of the copyrighted mythologies like the Moorcock or Lankmarian or any of those. And it was mentioned before, I believe, previous video, if you're asking about the Balrog, it is actually listed as a Type 6 demon. But it's so abstracted out as to really not have any real description of of an actual Balrog. But it is, I believe, Eldritch Wizardry, where we get the, let's see, where is it? Monsters 27. Yep, Type 6 demon. Their move speed, armor class. So in here, it's noticeably missing any picture for it. They have pictures for most of the others. But the Type 6, these demons loom a full 12 feet tall, and they are highly intelligent. They spread darkness in a 10-foot radius at will. These demons cannot be harmed by normal weaponry, and as previously detailed, are 75% resistant to magic. Their other singular abilities are Cause Fear as a fear wand, Detect Magic, read languages, detect invisible objects, Cause Pyrotechnics, Dispel Magic, Suggestion, Telekinesis, 6,000 gold piece weight, use a symbol of fear, discord, sleep, or stunning, and they also have a 70% chance of successfully gating in a demon of Type 3 or Type 4. Each of these terrible abilities can be deployed as often as desired, but only one may be used at any given time. You'll notice there's no specific description, whereas the others, for example, Orcus is a grossly fat demon lord, some 15 feet tall. His huge body is covered with goatish hair, so it's detailed, right? Of course, succubi, Type 5, another female demon with multi-armed female torso atop the body of a great snake. Notice that that's quite detailed. Type 4, these demons combine the worst features of an ape and a boar, and their small wings appear unable to bear their ponderous and 10-foot tall bodies. So, again, a picture, they actually describe it. So you'll notice the type 6 is intentionally very blank. There was the effort to do a Balor. Maybe they still got grief, I don't know. But boy, they've really, really, really abstracted out what would have been a Balrog. 'Tis a shame, all the legal wranglings over the Tolkien intellectual property. But anyway, so that's a little more for you on that. I think I'll call that good for tonight, and maybe read a couple more excerpts from book 1 that were entertaining pieces, as well as some of the other books if you still like. So keep the feedback coming. If you have specific questions, I will keep trying to answer them in future clips. Best to you all. Happy gaming.